This edition of MacVoices is supported by Screencasts Online, your source for new Mac and iOS tutorials every week. To learn more and for a 14-day free trial, visit screencastsonline.com. And by MacVoices Magazine, our free Flipboard magazine that brings you some of the best Mac, iPhone, and iPad productivity tips on the web. High in signal, low in noise, just like MacVoices, MacVoices Magazine includes information on how you can get more out of your Apple technology. Subscribe at macvoices.com/magazine or search for MacVoices Magazine on Flipboard. Welcome to MacVoices. This is a talk of the Mac community. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, El Capitan has arrived, and that means that we're all going to be experimenting with Apple's new Mac OS. And I couldn't think of a better way to do this than talk to Scholle McFarland. She is the author of the new El Capitan, a Take Control crash course. Of course, Joe Kissel was here and he helped us get ready for this. Scholle, now it's your turn. Now you get to tell us what we need to know about El Capitan.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to see you. We haven't talked for a little while, and now I know why. You've been hanging low, working on El Capitan.
Yes, buried, one could say.
Buried. Oh, okay. So is that ominous for the rest of us as we do the upgrade, or do we just get to benefit from your suffering?
You benefit from my suffering. That's what I'm here for.
Oh, good. Well, all right. Well, we appreciate it. That's good enough. There's not too many authors that would put it quite that way. Scholle, why did you and Take Control decide to do this in the crash course format? And maybe perhaps I should ask you to explain the crash course format before answering the question.
Sure. So the crash course format, we started that a year ago. And actually, my Yosemite book was the first crash course that the Take Control book series did. And the point of this series is to make things really easy to access. So there's lots of graphics and little quick nuggets of information. You can just flip through the book and pick up things as you skim along. It's not meant to be a definitive, in-depth, every single menu item book. It's supposed to give you the least you need to know to really get started with the operating system and get going right away.
Scholle, I love that. I love this format for this very reason, that it's not like you're rewriting the manual as if there was a manual, but to rewrite. But the idea that you do kind of quick hits, you tell me the things I need to get up and running, take full advantage of the best features, and make sure that they don't go overlooked. Because there have been a couple times in the past with different releases that I think some features that could have taken hold a lot more if anybody had been paying attention to them, and they just got completely overlooked. And now you have to go back and remind yourself that they're there.
Yes. Since the OS updates are coming so fast now, pretty much every year, I think it's really easy to miss things. And in this book, we keep that in mind. So there is a chapter about Finder tags and Finder tabs, which are actually older features, but things that I think a lot of people have overlooked. We have a chapter about the dock this time, which has been there forever, but has so many shortcuts that I think few people really understand all the cool things that they can do with it. As I was writing the book, I was finding features that I had not, either I forgot that they were there or I just had never realized. One, for instance, I wrote them down because it was kind of fun to find things that I hadn't realized were there. In Notes this time, I was going through and testing the new Notes, which is completely overhauled. And I realized you could control-click in your document window, and there's an item there for you to capture part of your screen. So I started looking through all the other apps, and this is all the way through the OS. And then when I looked back at Yosemite, it actually was there too, just not so consistently. But what this means is, say you're in Mail and you're having your system, you're getting an error over and over again, or even you're working on a layout and you want to show somebody a picture of it. Now all you do is control click in that email window or in that document, select the capture screen menu item, and you can just drag a cursor over the part of the window that you want to share, and it automatically goes into the email message or into the note or whatever app you're in. It's a super handy little feature that I think just got, lost in the great rush of new features that we've been getting year to year.
Yeah, when I made my comment, Finder tabs was one of the things that I was specifically thinking of. It's so easy to forget they're there. You use them all the time in the browser. Why not in the Finder? But we don't do it. So what do you think are, to start out, we'll talk about the marquee features. What do you think are the key marquee features of El Capitan that everyone should be aware of?
Well, one of the features that I think people are talking about the most is split view. And this is something that El Capitan shares with iOS 9. What it is, just at its simplest, is the ability to split your screen into two. So you open one, either an app window or an app itself, full screen, and it's kind of weird how you start split view, but you actually click and hold on the green zoom button, full screen button, and then half of your screen will turn blue, and you can just drag the window either to the left or right, and it clicks there. That leaves the other half for whatever else you want to look at. So say you want to compare two Word documents, or you want a Safari document with all your research in it, and the other side to be your Google Doc where you're writing a paper. You just pop open the other one on the other side. And the reason this is convenient is, of course, you can do that right now, but you have to manually pull your screen just into the right place and set everything up. With split view, it's very quick and simple, and all the window adjustment is done for you. You can even click and hold on the divider and move it one side or the other. Say you want your document window to be bigger than your Safari research over here. No problem, you just move the divider. So it's a really nice time saver, and I think a lot of people work that way, where they have two things that they're comparing or copying and pasting between, and this makes it really quick to get that set up. So that's a very nice feature from El Capitan this time.
I've seen a couple utilities, different add-ons that'll do similar things, maybe not exactly like that, where snap one window to one side, snap the other window to another. Moom, M-O-O-M, is one of my favorite utilities for doing something like this, being able to click and just drag out the size window you want. But for it to be built into the OS means a lot more people are going to become aware of this and how useful it is.
Yeah, definitely. And especially since it's also on iOS 9, I think everything that Apple does, and they did do a few significant things with these OS releases, everything that they do to make you be able to do the same things on either platform is really helpful to people because you can move more seamlessly back and forth.
So do you think that the main improvements or changes in El Capitan are pretty much limited to the Finder and to the system, or do we see a lot of changes down at the application level?
We've got some great changes at the application level. I mean, putting this in context, El Capitan is nothing like Yosemite. With Yosemite, we completely redid everything. The look of the operating system changed. Almost all the apps changed in a major way. That was a huge update. This is a smaller update. It's more about refinements to the things that happened last time, but there's still some significant features. Notes, for instance, that we've already mentioned once. Notes is totally overhauled, and that's probably the app that is the most changed. It's more like on the Yosemite level of, whoa, this is a whole new app. The changes in Notes are mostly about iCloud integration. So it's made so you can go back and forth from your iOS device to El Capitan really seamlessly. You can do a lot more. It's still not as full-featured as Evernote or some of the other notes programs that have been around a while and really have a lot of bells and whistles. But Notes is ubiquitous. It's on all of our iOS and our Macs, so it's everywhere. And now it's all synced through iCloud, which means you can really easily go back and forth between your devices. The new features this time are a whole lot of new supported formats. So before, you could put an image in a note, very simple things like that. Now you can put you can see embedded images, videos. You can have links to almost every type of document that you can think of. It supports tons of file formats. And then it also supports some cool things from your iOS device. So on your iPhone, you can record a voice memo. Say if you're walking around thinking about something, if you share that to notes on your Mac, you'll see a note with a playable link. So your audio notes become immediately synced and available over on your Mac. So that's pretty nifty. Similarly, on iOS 9 now, if you have a newer device, you can draw either with a stylus or with your finger. You can sketch. And so you can only do that on an iOS device, but you can share it and have those all cataloged and available on your Mac as well. So there's a lot of new types of information that you can bring into Notes and look at and manipulate. To make that even easier, now there's an attachments browser. So you can go into the attachments browser and it shows you every single attachment you've attached to all of your notes divided by category. So you can look, what are the sketches I have? Click on the sketches tab and then you see all of your sketches. Same thing for audio and video, for all the different types of things you can put in. So that makes it really easy to then get a visual overview of all the little bits and pieces of information you have stored in Notes, which is really handy if you like to capture your thoughts and just all sorts of random things. Maybe you use your phone to photograph flyers that you see or every sunset that you view, whatever it is that inspires you or whatever kind of information you want to keep around and remember. Now you can put that all into Notes. So that is a fun new update, which I think a lot of people will take advantage of.
I want to be clear about this. Obviously, if you take a photo and then move it to Notes or attach it to Notes, it's an attachment. If I do a doodle with my finger, though, that is considered an attachment? It's not embedded in the note?
It's actually all embedded in the note, but they call them attachments for the sake of the attachments browser. But all those things are embedded and you can see them right in the notes.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by Screencasts Online, your source for new Mac and iOS tutorials every week. To learn more and for a 14-day free trial, visit screencastsonline.com. One thing we can all agree on, Don McAllister's Screencasts Online is the gold standard for screencast tutorials. Each week, Screencasts Online delivers a brand new Mac tutorial and also a brand new iOS tutorial. That means each week you get to learn something new for your Mac, iOS device, or both. And we're talking about in-depth, step-by-step instruction, not just quick overviews. And if that isn't enough, Screencasts Online Monthly Magazine brings interesting and informative articles to you each month via Apple's newsstand. With a back catalog of over 500 video tutorials, Screencasts Online is one of the most complete video resources for learning about Apple-oriented software on the web. You can enjoy a 14-day free trial to find out that Screencasts Online is right for you, then sign up for a quarterly or yearly subscription that includes everything, including Screencasts Online magazine. Just visit screencastsonline.com to sign up. Screencasts Online, video tutorials you will really watch and enjoy. Thanks to Screencasts Online for their support of MacVoices. Along the way, you mentioned one of the magic words, iCloud.
Yeah.
iCloud has been a service that we've been happy with, we've been frustrated with the whole way around. I'm hoping you're going to tell me that we're a lot closer to getting iCloud right at this point.
I saw a lot less weird stuff with iCloud this time.
That's good.
And they're certainly making it more and more indispensable. For instance, you can't use any of the new Notes features unless you use iCloud. So they're taking away any kind of choice. If you want to use the cool features, you got to use it. Even though Notes, you can still see IMAP-based notes, say from Gmail, you can't do any of the new stuff in those notes. So it's all about iCloud now in Notes and in a lot of the other things too.
And to be fair, there have been things that with iCloud have been pretty much bulletproof. They've been great. It's just things like, well, iCloud Drive. That whole concept seemed to be one that they fought for a while. Now they're adopting it, and I'm hoping they get it right, because it is and would be incredibly useful working between an iPhone and iPad and my desktop Macs. So
Yeah.
I'm really rooting for it. I hope that it is indeed what we wanted it to be all along.
And there are some iCloud improvements. On iOS 9 now, there's a built-in app so that you have a way to look and browse through your folder in a way that really supports the metaphor of it being a folder that you can look at and drag things in and out of, not something that's all app-based, which is the way iCloud used to be. So I think that they're going in the right direction with that. It's still not as full-featured as Dropbox. You can't share from it to anyone. You can't make a link that anybody can come and get that file with in the same way that you can Dropbox. But the syncing is good, and it was working all through my testing very well.
You mentioned that this is being seen as a refinement release, sort of like Snow Leopard was to Leopard. That seems to be the popular perception. Do you feel like it's a more refined operating system or version of the operating system? I mean, some of the new features are great and important, but overall, there's always that feel you get from an upgrade. Does this have that refined feel?
It does. Yosemite was such a big change, but there were a lot of things in Yosemite that just didn't work very well with the first release. The same thing with iOS 8. We had to wait till iOS 8.1 before actually some of the features worked at all. So that was a little disappointing in that I expect a lot from Apple in terms of shipping working software, not buggy software. This time, though, things are really stable, and some things that maybe could have been better in Yosemite are better now with El Capitan. They work a little bit better. Handoffs becoming more and more reliable. Some of the continuity features that were difficult to get running, in part because I think a lot of people, there was some confusion about what hardware supported those features. Now we're a year more down the line. There are more new machines out, so that helps right there. But I think a lot of the features, they're just less buggy. A lot of stuff is working the way you would expect it to, which is nice.
I'm glad you brought up continuity, because that is another one of those things that for me has been pretty easy to use. But I usually, well, the exception of a few, I tend to keep newer Macs as my production Macs. And so, it's like AirDrop is phenomenal to, just take this and move it to my iPhone, move it to my other Mac. So I'm glad to hear that is more refined, and hopefully maybe with older versions of the OS too that are hardware on machines that are hardware limited.
Yes, I think things are working a lot better for sure. All the different features. But there's some other we were talking about apps that have been updated, and Notes is the biggest one because it got updates all through it. But there are others too. And one of those is Safari, which doesn't get a whole bunch of new features, but the features it does get are very significant, and I think people are going to really use them right away. The one that you may have heard of the most is very simple and very wonderful, and that's the ability to mute tabs. So if you have the trouble, which most of us do, that you'll go to a website and then you'll open another website and then suddenly an advertisement starts auto-playing on the website you were just looking at. You don't know which tab it is, like where is the noise coming from? Safari now puts a audio icon on every tab that has audio or video on it. And then it has an audio tab in an audio icon in the smart search field. So you have a lot of different ways to quickly stop the noise, which I think is really wonderful. Another great trick is you can option click on the tab that you want, the one that you actually want to listen to mute all other tabs. So that's just a quick trick that everybody is going to love, I think.
Yeah, that might be a good enough reason to upgrade right there.
Right
Nothing
there.
else. Nothing else. Because in this world now, if you use tabs, especially, you close out Safari, then they all open back up, and whether it's YouTube or just a piece of audio on a website or whatever,
Yes.
they're all being thrown at you, and you're right, it'll drive you crazy because then you're trying to dig through, trying to figure out what. So
Where is it coming from? Yep.
that's going to be a feature that everybody, and I want you to repeat that too. Obviously, with the audio icon up there, but you can option click on the tab you want, and it'll shut everything else down.
Yes. Option click a tab sound icon to mute all the other tabs.
Out of curiosity, since I know how YouTube works, does it mute the audio coming from those tabs, or does it pause the video playing in YouTube? Do you know?
That's a good question. I actually haven't. No, it does not pause the video. It just mutes the audio. I have actually tested that. I had to test it. I opened as many cat videos as I possibly could find. And then I muted them all. They all kept playing.
Okay.
So it's just the audio. They're not stopping them.
Okay. That's in some ways that's good. In other ways, I might want it the other way. But it's definitely a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's
it's
phenomenal.
great. It's really convenient. The other thing, the other big feature is pinned tabs. And that's something that people have been able to get on other browsers for a while. But now Safari does it, and it does it in a really nice way. So what that means is a pinned tab is a site that you go to all the time. So if, for instance, you look at your Gmail in the browser, if that's the way you like to do it, or you look at Facebook all day long, or Twitter, or something like that, things that you might access through Safari. Now you can pin those tabs, and it's really similar to having a favorite or a bookmark, but they're more accessible. And so how you do it is when you have a page open, which is something that you want to pin, you just grab it and push it over to the left side of Safari, and it turns into a little tiny tab. So they're very tidy and compact, and it has either a custom icon that the site has provided or just a little generic icon with the first letter of the site's name. And it's always there. Open a new browser window, it'll be there for you right over there, teeny tiny on the left. And those pages stay updated. So if you click over to it, it's always going to be fresh content. And they are really easy to find. I think that's the greatest thing. Since they're always there on the left, you're not having to dig through your tabs once again to try to find what you want. I know in the past, had the problem of I wouldn't dig through the tabs. I would just open another tab. So adding to the chaos, there would be more and more windows open. So this way you always can find it. It's right there, and easy to set up. And it's designed to stay put. So if you're in your pinned tab, when you're clicking on internal links, it stays in that tab. But if you click on an external link, it automatically opens a new tab. So your pinned tab stays where it is. So that is really handy.
Do pinned tabs survive opening and closing Safari? Is it like a bookmark in that way?
They're like a bookmark in that way. The one strange thing that they do, which I get the concept, but doesn't really work that well in practice, is that they sync. So that means, say you have two browser windows open. In one, you went to your pinned tab for Facebook, and you went to a friend's profile. If you open a new browser window and click your pinned Facebook tab there, it's not going to take you to your Facebook homepage. It's going to take you to that friend's profile. So these two windows are always going to sync. So that means you can't use your pinned tabs to compare different pages on a site, which is something that I think people do a lot. So you open up the new one, and all of a sudden your other one gets blurry and then changes. And that can be really disconcerting. So that's something that I think people have to get used to if they want to if they want to compare two pages from that site that they have pinned. They actually have to just open a new window and not use their pinned tab to get the next page of that site. So that's a little weird.
Yeah, that is a little weird. And again, I want to make sure we understand correctly. Yeah. So using Facebook as the example, So let's say I shut down again the Safari and bring it back up. Does my pin tab go back to what it was originally pinned to, or does
it goes back to its original pin? Yeah.
Okay.
Once so Safari. Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't remember. It's not that kind of thing. It just okay.
It's just in the moment. If you try to use if you try to open the pinned tab twice or more, those will always synchronize across each other. So
there's a logic to it. I just can't, right off the top, I can't find it. I'm sure you looked for it too.
I'm sure it was hard to do too, but it doesn't make much sense when you're using it. You're like, what is happening? Yeah. But other than that one oddity, the rest, otherwise pin tabs are so useful. I use Gmail in the browser. I'm not really a mail user. I look at Facebook all day long. I use Google Docs for everything. So now I have pinned tabs for all of those things. And it's so easy to find. I don't have to go digging through bookmarks. Favorites, I had favorites in my favorites bar, but by default, it's the name. So it gets really cluttered up in your favorites bar. Since these are just nice little icons, it's very simple and tidy and easy to use.
Scholle, how about the other one that everybody's sort of been waiting for, El Capitan, photos? Are we seeing a lot of changes in photos this time around?
There are some changes to photos. I'll tell you, we do not cover photos in my book. And the reason for that is because we have an entire book about photos that my friend Jason Snell wrote, which has been wildly popular. And so that book is going to get an update this month to include the new features. But the new features, I do have them in my What's New part of the book, so I can read them to you. But it's basically support for third-party editing extensions that you can purchase through the App Store. An info window that now has an editable add a location field, so easier access to locations. And more options for sorting photos, including by title and by date. So it sounds like some refinements to photo in there. And that'll all be in Jason's book when that gets updated in the next few weeks.
I'm sure we'll be wrangling Jason to talk about it too. I didn't realize. It makes sense. I just didn't think about the fact, because it seemed, well, I guess it's been a little while. It just seems like we talked about that not too long ago. But
it's a new program. It is, and there's a lot of interest because it is very different from iPhotos. So we actually have a whole book about photos, and we have a whole book about mail. And the mail book is going out in the next couple of days. Did Joe talk about that when he came on? Yeah. So. It's all well covered by the Take Control series, which is great. As it always is.
Scholle, anything that we should be kind of watching out for, and any missteps we can make as we upgrade, not upgrade to, but get used to working with El Capitan? Because Joe and I talked about, some potential issues as you upgrade. Anything though that you found with as we work with it? Anything that we can do that maybe is unexpected or that we shouldn't do?
Well, there are some moments where you might need to upgrade things, and you need to be aware of what that means. So with Notes, when you're going to have a moment when you first launch it where it asks, do you want to upgrade to Notes? And if you are someone who has already been using Notes and have a lot of notes in the older formats, or if you have devices that are not El Capitan or iOS 9, that's a moment where you need to stop, because once you upgrade your notes, you'll not be able to access them or sync them from your older devices. If you need to wait, you can, but you will not be able to access any of Notes' new features because, like I said, it's all iCloud dependent. So that is one thing to watch out for. With a lot of the stuff, if you're going forward, you're going forward. There's no more looking back.
I've had that happen with updates to Final Cut, where this library needs to be upgraded, and that it's implied that you can't go back, and so it's like, oh, do I really want to do this? Do I have any alternatives? But you're right, you just got to push forward, and as long as you have a backup, make sure you have a backup, and then go for it. So
yeah.
So tell me about the book. How much? How many pages? What can I expect when I flip this open?
Sure.
Virtually?
And, It's about 110 pages. It's $10. We're hoping it's going to be available on Wednesday, right when El Capitan ships. So, yeah. And it's available in all sorts of electronic formats for your electronic viewing pleasure.
Great. Well, thank you for doing all the work you've done, for suffering as you've suffered. Being what, locked in the basement and
locked in the basement. I broke a keyboard yesterday. I broke my keyboard tray. So I have a standing desk, and I was leaning forward. I was so tired. And it just snapped, whacked me right in the eye. I thought I was going to have a big black eye for today, but
that would have been perfect. You could have gotten the sympathy vote here in a big way.
That's right.
So it is El Capitan, a Take Control Crash Course by Scholle McFarland. Pick it up at takecontrolbooks.com, and you will just get up to speed and running with El Capitan's great new features. It's faster than anybody else, unless they buy the book, of course. Mm-hmm. Scholle, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks, Chuck.
We'll have you get back again, whatever the next project is.
Whatever the next one is, that's right. Thanks a lot.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. We hope you're enjoying our El Capitan, because I'm not releasing this until it's out. So if you are, great. Let us know how you like it. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the MacVoices blog. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date on all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at macvoices.com/newsletter. Do more with your Apple tech by subscribing to the free MacVoices magazine on Flipboard by visiting macvoices.com/magazine. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.